Alrighty team, social expectations, lesson 8. So today we are looking at how individual behaviour towards others is socially constructed and influenced by social expectation. So it's sort of leading on from last lesson, but this one is very much focused on the tie-in of social constructs with social expectation. So without further ado, we shall get crack-a-lackin'. So our behaviour is shaped by social expectations. Now again, just pause. You should pause me and do the word bank and then play. Okay? That's key. It's key to your learning. Don't cheat your learning. Do it properly. So our behaviour is shaped by social expectations. If we do something that offends others, their negative reactions make it clear that this behaviour is deemed unacceptable, just as we are rewarded when we act in a positive way. Okay, so the social construct of what, for example, a good student or a bad student looks like is very much shaped by our culture and beliefs, and that is therefore a social expectation that we place upon students, is that they should behave in a certain manner, dress in a certain way, and act as model students. And you guys, when you don't do that, when you don't meet that expectations, there's negative reactions which try and reinforce you to let you know that that behaviour is unacceptable. So for example, in class, if someone's speaking while the teacher is speaking, it's very common practice for a little death stare or dirty from the teacher. So there's non-verbal cues. There might be a hand out, or they might be called out. Hey, can you please stop talking while I'm trying to explain something to the class? Thank you. So you have those sorts of negative reinforcements, but you also have the positive reinforcements inside of it with social expectations, which is whereas you do the right thing, then you're rewarded for it. And that's the case in a lot of different social institutions, not just school. If you look at workplaces, people get pay bonuses if they meet certain deadlines on time or if they exceed them, and that sort of thing too. Just as they're reprimanded with an official warning or sanction or demotion if they do something wrong. So social expectation is really driven by social constructs. Might just highlight a few things. Forgot to do that as we go. I think that's mainly the main point of the first bit. So the second bit is that social norms are part of the fabric of social expectation, and that's the rules that define how we behave. Boom. We learn these norms endorsed by our society and culture to be accepted by it and have consequences to reinforce acceptance of these norms, which is what we just talked about, really. So we learn them to feel acceptance because, human beings like to form and be part of a group, and so that's very much why there's that reward sort of system based around social expectations. So an example, I guess, of where you can see this is that if a child's misbehaving, they are sent to time out. By the way, that's terrible parenting. Well, again, that's just my personal opinion. Don't take that as factual knowledge, but I personally think that timeouts are bad. Or they may lose a privilege, right? I've even written it here, bad parenting, FYI. Long. But again, that's an example of a social expectation that at a micro level is placed upon some children, okay? That if they misbehave, there's a consequence, all right? However, if they're behaving in accordance to expectations, or indeed if they exceed those expectations, they are rewarded or they're praised. And the idea behind that is, if you want to write down here, to reinforce social expectations. Write that down right here. To reinforce social expectations. And again, if you want to write underneath that, that happens at a micro, meso, and a macro level. Okay, so from parents, I guess, at a micro level, even your friends do it. Like, what happens if someone in your social group does something that's outside of the social expectations or norms or social constructs or customs that you have within your own social circles? A horrible thing that can happen is someone gets ostracized from the group. They get cut out because they don't meet the desired social norms of that group, right? Likewise, when they do, or when they cave into peer pressure, they might be invited out more often to certain parties or whatever it is that you guys, whatever you kids do these days, right? So even in your own peer circles, you have those incentive-based systems. We have them in here at school. I don't have to go over them. You're probably very familiar with them. And then at a macro level, it even operates. So say like with social media, you know, we get that gratification of social expectations. I don't know how much if you notice, if you post something that is more aligned with common social expectations and mirrors, I guess, macro level trends and stuff, you typically get more engagement on that post, and you get further reach, likes, comments, shares, DMs, reactions, and engagements on that post. That's very common. And so social expectation, I guess, permeates across all levels of society. It's really evident. Which kind of leads us to our first activity, right? List an example of social expectations in your own micro and meso world and tell me how they're reinforced. So quickly list an example and then tell me how it's reinforced. Again, you guys should pause the video when you get up to these activities and then play me again once you've done it. Alright? So pause. Alright. Next activity is we are going to apply, so that's what a social expectation is, right? We're now going to apply that to a concept. We're going to apply it to the concept of gender. So what I want you to look at is these two images here. It's a clip of research. I think it was done in, oh, there you go, I said it's done in 2020. And so the research was looking, I guess, at gender roles and how public perceptions of them may or may not have changed over time. So I want you to view this, these two bits of information. The first one is looking at traits that people value most in men and women. And then the second one is looking at the public's view of the types of pressures that both men and women face. So I want you to examine both of these. We're going to do a bit of a content analysis, hey, on both of these. And then I want you to sort of answer the question once you've had a good look at them. Does this show continuity or change in regards to conservative or traditional gender stereotypes? Now, we just started 2023, so I wouldn't say that this study's 3 years old, but probably 2 years old, so it's still fairly recent. So what do you think that says about continuity and change in terms of conservative or traditional gender roles? Have we changed, or have we very much stayed the same in terms of how we value men and women and the types of pressure that they report that they face still today? So reflect on that. Pause. Alright, now that you've done that, we're going to apply this concept of social expectations to a social institution, the macro institution of social media. So I guess a little introduction. So since social media has become a very globalized platform for sharing cultures, beliefs, values, etc., there's been a lot of general pressure and anxiety to conform to certain social standards, and that's increased significantly. I would definitely highlight that whole paragraph. Whether that's peer pressure, whether that's like showing your best life on Instagram or TikTok, whatever it is, I think the point here to make is that social expectations have always existed, but they've just really intensified in contemporary society because we're exposed to content like never before. The amount of views that like a 5-second, 10-second video gets on TikTok, and the sheer number of views that it has, and the sheer number of videos that are out there, means that we're just trading information and ideas constantly at a rate faster than we ever have. So the concept of social conformity, social expectations and constructs is more prevalent now than it ever has been. And with that can potentially come some negative consequences, which I think is what I would like us to analyze down below. So there's two videos here, and I want you to comment on what this conveys about social expectations associated with technology and social media. Okay, so the first is a clip of Louise Delage, and I'm not going to tell you what it's all about because you got to watch it and that'll tell you what it's about. So I'm not going to tell you. So I want you to view it, answer those two questions. Yeah. Same about the video Insta Lie. I want you to view that and answer those two questions there. And then lastly, very lastly, your summary task for today, a bit of extra work that I would love you to do to help solidify your conceptual understanding, is I want you to do this in your big boy book, by the way, so you maybe want to annotate that, so do it in your, well, I'm not going to write big boy book on my beautiful booklet, but you're just going to have to. So I want you to find either a popular YouTube channel or a TikTok account or an Instagram post or person or whatever. I want you to pick one post, one video, whatever it is, and I want you to note the name of it, how many views, followers and likes that person has. So how many followers that person has and how many views and likes they got on their post. I want you to then tell me why it's so popular, and then I want you to answer this final question: how can the message be identified as shaping or adhering to social expectations? So what I mean by that is this post that you're doing, is it shaping a social expectation? Is it like setting the trend, so to speak? Or is that post adhering to the already established social expectations that is expected of a person of that culture, gender, or whatever it is you exactly? Okay, so that's what I mean by that. Alright, that's lesson 8. How great.